Hello, my name is Hudson Ludy. Today I'll be talking about Aaron Burr, who is the Vice President of the United States of America in the year 1800. He is most well known for assassinating Alexander Hamilton. My resources include many historical websites, including history.com and notablebiographies.com. Aaron Burr was the grandson of Jonathan Edwards, who was a famous preacher in early U.S. history. He lost his parents at 9 years old, and he and his older sister Sarah moved in with their uncle Timothy Edwards. Aaron Burr enrolled in Princeton College in 1769, and he was 13 years old. Woodrow Wilson said he had genius enough to have made him immortal, and an unschooled passion enough to have made him infamous. He graduated in 1773. Alexander Hamilton grew up on the Caribbean island of Nevis, which was struck by a hurricane when Hamilton was very young. When he was about 12, he and his mother got very sick. His mother, unfortunately, died, and he moved in with his cousin, who later committed suicide. His writings, which he was well known for in his political career and ultimately killed his political career, were circulated among the residents of the island, and they raised enough money for him to go to New York. These two would work together. They would come to hate each other, and that would leave one of them dead and another alive, and one of them would go down in history as a villain, and one would go down as one who fought for the ideals of the United States. Burr graduated Princeton College in 1773. Hamilton applied to the same college but was not accepted. They had many mutual friends during this time period, so it is very possible that they could have met, but there's no concrete evidence to prove that. 1765 marked the start of the American Revolution. Both Hamilton and Burr fought under George Washington, the first president of the United States, and a well-known military leader in the Revolutionary War. Hamilton met Henry Knox, who introduced him to George Washington. Burr was a continental officer. I think I said that wrong. I apologize. He participated in the Battle of Quebec, the New York Campaign, the Battle of Monmouth, and endured the harsh winter at Valley Forge during the winter of 1777 through 1778, alongside General George Washington. And George Washington was known not to have a very high opinion of Burr. He is quoted as saying, "By all that I have known and heard, Colonial Burr is brave and an able officer, but the question is whether or not he has equal talents at intrigue." Nobody quite knows why Washington disapproved of Burr, but it could have been because Burr was too eager for action. It could have been he didn't live up to Washington's standards or something else. The Revolutionary ended in 1783, and both Hamilton and Burr proceeded to work in political fields. Hamilton became the head of Treasury and soon devised a plan, which we know today, and to redo the nation's financial system. Burr's effort in this time of history is usually overlooked. He fought for electoral representation for average citizens, not just property owners, and he defended the rights of immigrants who were ironically attacked by Hamilton's Federalist Party. Burr defeated Philip Schuyler, who was Hamilton's father-in-law, in Congress, and this further divided the two and separated them and made them hate each other more. And Burr ran against Thomas Jefferson in the election of 1800. Jefferson was thought to be Hamilton's arch nemesis for a long time, so when Hamilton came out and said that he was in support of Jefferson rather than Burr, everyone was really surprised, and Jefferson won in a landslide victory over Burr. Burr became Jefferson's vice president, which was soon removed because Jefferson also disapproved of Burr. John Sedgwick said, "There is such a thing as Hamiltonism, there is such a thing as Jeffersonism. There isn't Burrism." Burr was not an ideologist. He was a total opportunist who would go wherever way provided the greatest advantage to him. And to Hamilton, that was absolutely unconsiderable. Burr demanded Hamilton apologize. Through a series of letters, they decided to duel. New Jersey was their chosen location because it had the least chance of being of prosecution. No witnesses were at the duel, but what we do know is that Burr obviously shot Hamilton and wounded him, and hours later he died. Burr returned expecting praise for defending his honor. However, he was met with ridicule. He was desperate to get his mark in history after he'd been removed from vice president, and he was 51 years old after all. And this would lead to him being tried for treason, a crime punishable by death. According to one account, he had been at the heart of a deep, dark, and wicked conspiracy against the young United States. Historian Bunker F. Melton says, "What is known is that Burr worked to raise a small army of the American frontier. He may have hoped to lead an independent campaign against the Spanish-held territories in Texas and Mexico, but it is also possible that he planned to wrest a portion of the newly acquired frontier from the United States. According to some contemporaries, Burr had designs for founding a new Western nation with himself as the emperor. And this took place in the same year as Hamilton's death. Burr contacted Anthony Murray, who was a former British minister, and discussed if Louisiana and other U.S. territories would be willing to secede from the newly founded United States in order to serve the British, and Burr was hoping to be over that and rule it. And he, for the next few years, went over traveling the Ohio and Mississippi River, recruiting members for his cause. But unfortunately, it never got, not unfortunately, but it never got for fruitful fruition. And he was very careful not to reveal his plans to anyone. And even his recruiters, he didn't give full explanation to. But his plans were leaked to a degree, and next thing he knew, Jefferson was calling for his arrest. He was tried in 1807, but his strong lawyers got him freed from the trial, from the punishment of death. But he still has a bad reputation to this day because of all his misdoings. Aaron Burr wanted to rule and have power. That's what his life goal was, and therefore it killed him ultimately and has left a bad stain on him for history. And Hamilton wanted what was best for the American nation. He did ultimately die, and his political career was killed by an affair, which is a completely different story. But and this changed these two different approaches changed both their legacies and how they impacted the nation. Hamilton impacted the nation towards what we have today as the United States, and Burr was just wanting to make his mark on history and wanting to change things and have power. He wasn't wanting to actually build a strong nation. And this is the difference between the two. One strived for I'm Hudson Ludy, and thank you for coming to my TED Talk.